Hi guys, we will start with a broadcast section with no embargo, followed by an embargoed section for 10:30 p.m. tonight. No live tweeting during the broadcast section, please use the microphone provided. James.
Hi Ange, any new injuries, anyone due back?
There's a couple still sore from the weekend, or the midweek, sorry. Let's look at days again. Just waiting on see how Brennan, he's got a bit of a calf complaint, and Biss is a bit sore as well, so we're just waiting to hear information on them. Coming back, Ben Davies should be involved.
Your reflections on the North London derby, you spoke afterwards about a lack of intensity. Do you feel that's a physical thing or a mental thing?
Oh, look, it could be a bit of both. Yeah, especially, like I said, the first half, we were way too sort of passive in our approach, and both with and without the ball, and allowed sort of Arsenal to dictate the game and set the tempo, and we weren't really able to kind of make an impact in the way we wanted to. Second half was a bit better, but ultimately, it cost us.
How's it going in terms of bringing in reinforcement for a pretty depleted squad at the moment?
Yeah, look, club's working as hard as it can, and that's all you can ask for. And like I said, January's not an easy month, but I do know a lot of work's being done behind the scenes, and to try and get some reinforcements in.
Randall Kolo Muani looks like he's going to join Juventus. Is that a big setback?
For me? Or?
Yeah, on the club.
No.
You weren't in for him?
Well, I mean, it depends what you mean by in. We've been interested and we're looking at a number of players, but did we get to the point where we thought he was coming to us? No.
You mentioned it's a tough window. Are you confident you can get some business done?
As confident as you can be. As I said, it's not. It is tricky, as all clubs are finding. So, I guess traditionally it kind of ramps up, kind of in that sort of final week. So we're approaching there for all clubs, because it's even trickier in January, because once you try and acquire a player, you're trying to acquire a player from a club that potentially wants to replace that player. So there's all sorts of logistics involved.
An attacking player and a defender still the priority?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what's available and what help we can get.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nif, please.
Hi, Ange. Good afternoon. Good seeing you again. We just heard that Erling Haaland, he signed the Premier League's biggest ever contract at Man City, 10 years contract with no release clause. What's your initial thoughts about it, mainly in terms of the commitment from the player and from the club?
Yeah, look, it's interesting. Obviously, the player's really happy, and I'm sure the club's really happy to acquire his talent. He's still relatively a young man, and it's a commitment from both. It's not unusual in other sports, particularly in American sports, and it might be something that football. I mean, we've tended to go. I know Chelsea did a couple of longer term ones as well. It might be a way clubs are going in the future, depending on sort of how, the sort of globally the game's moving. But see a lot of benefits for Man City in it, and I can see, and obviously if Erling's committed, he's really happy there.
Your goalkeeper, Antonin Kinski, can I please ask you, he played 3 games since he joined. First of all, what did you make of his performance on Wednesday? And in general, probably more important, moving forward, how are you hoping to support him and to allow it to carry on growing?
Yeah, look, it's fair to say we've thrown him in at the deep end, and he's had 3 pretty big challenges in different ways, and he's certainly gaining experience very, very quickly when you look at the games he's played, and like I said, the challenges within that. So. And I think he's handled it really well. He's I said from day one, he's a very assured sort of young man, and from a goalkeeping aspect, he's got all the attributes we're looking for, and I think he'll be a good fit for us. And like I said, we've thrown him at the deep end, but I think we'll get enormous benefit from that.
Facing David Moyes this weekend away from home. What impressed you the most with his longevity in management, and were you surprised with his decision to return to Everton?
No, not surprised. I mean, it's he showed at Everton. He's still still at the top of his game. He's a fantastic manager, and yes, I think longevity is a measure of your capabilities, particularly when you think of how long he's managed in the Premier League itself. And he's made an impact at the clubs he's been at. So I'm delighted to see him back because it means I'm not the oldest in the Premier League anymore. If we can get Roy off a beach somewhere, then I'd be even happier. But no, glad to have him back. Looking forward to seeing him. He's a top guy too. He's, I remember he reached out to me when I was at Celtic, a couple of years back, and top guy David, and great to have him back.
Bradley.
Hi Ange, hope you're well. You said after the game in the week about how much you were hurting about the number of defeats that the team have experienced this season. Just how much are the players hurting about how difficult this season has been for the club as well?
Yeah, look, I'm sure they are, and it's not, as I said after the game, it's not acceptable for a club like ours to have that many defeats in a season, and irrespective of kind of the context of the situation we're in, I just feel like as much as the defeat on Wednesday night, it was about also the performance in that first half that I just felt we didn't do ourselves justice, and I'm sure the players are hurting, but whether I'm hurting or they're hurting, it's kind of irrelevant. We know our supporters are hurting, and we're the only ones that can change that.
And given the amount of issues you've experienced this season, has this been one of the most difficult seasons you've experienced in management?
Look, every season's got its challenges. I mean, I haven't experienced the kind of injury or player absence, because it hasn't been just injuries, that we're currently going through. But every year's a different challenge. This is certainly a big one, my job is to make sure we get through it.
And on the flip side of that, lastly, you're still in 3 competitions in terms of the cups as well. How confident are you that you can make the second half of the season a success?
It's not about confidence, but I have great belief that we can make an impact for sure. But notwithstanding that, we still need to be better and more consistent in the league, irrespective of how we do in the cup competitions. And one can feed into the other, though, that's for sure. And we need to go to Everton on Sunday, and knowing that we've got we've got European football and cup football not long after that. Improvement in the league will help us on that journey as well. Thank you.
Jay, please.
Thank you. Hi, Ange. Obviously, Fraser missed a couple of games at the beginning of this year with an illness. I just wanted to check in on how he's doing and if he's recovered yet.
He's back in training, and sort of first full training session's been sort of probably today and maybe the day before the last game. So he's just back into training.
So he's entered the final 6 months of his contract. So just wanted to know if there any idea what's going to happen with him in the future.
Yeah, right now, I think our focus, and certainly my focus, is on trying to beat Everton on Sunday.
Pedro has played the most minutes for you in the league this season. I'm sure you'd love to give him a rest at some point, but it's basically a situation where you don't really have a choice. He's just got to keep playing. Well,
at the moment, yeah. I mean, we've got some alternatives there with obviously Jed and Archie can play there, but they're needed in other areas. So I think with all the guys at the back, they're doing a hell of a job for us, considering limited options. Hopefully, I mean, we should get Benny back this weekend, which gives us another body back there, and then I'm sure in the next couple of weeks, Romero and Van der Ven. But up until that point, for guys like Pedro and Archie, Radu, Jed, are the main ones. It just means they're just got to keep soldiering on.
Ali.
With Ben Davies coming back, is there a case now in your mind of kind of getting Archie Gray back to what he's meant to be doing in midfield position, or has he kind of done enough to keep staking a claim to play there for now?
Look, we don't have that luxury. I certainly don't have that luxury at the moment. Getting Benny back is great, but we're still pretty short defensively, and we've still got a lot of games before, even before Mickey and Romero, and certainly Destiny, are sort of back into the fold. So, we're still down to kind of minimum numbers. So, Archie he'll continue to do what he's been doing, mate. He's contributing every game, and whatever that may be for the team, he'll do that to his best.
I know the January market is obviously is a more difficult one. Is there any frustration at all, though, that you've kind of, it feels almost like you've missed this key period where the squad really needed help?
Well, it's not frustration. Look, it would be frustration, disappointment if the club weren't working hard. But I know how hard. I mean, look, it's an easy word to say, but I know how hard the club have been working behind the scenes to get something done. But it's not easy. You need sort of agreement from three different parties, and sometimes when you're in our situation, other clubs realise that and try and make the most of it. That's why I was delighted to get Tony in and fairly early, because it was that kind of helped us for sure. But it's not for the want of trying, so I accept that, and I'm not disappointed or frustrated. I'm actually pleased at how hard the club is working.
Just on Lucas Bergal, just a little one on him. He seems to be much stronger towards the end of games now. Is that just a consequence of the minutes, or have you guys and the coaches been working really specifically on his strength, his fitness, things like that?
I think it's a bit of consequence of the minutes, but also just his growth as a player and getting used to it. And like I said, at 18, they're still their body's developing. They're still kind of getting used to the levels, and he's certainly got a great capacity to work hard for sure. And you've seen that in the last couple of games, and that's great for us because again, with obviously Rodri out, and we'll see how Biss is now. He's going to be needed.
Hi Ange, getting close to the point of no return as it comes to qualifying for Europe, because you're starting to fall a bit behind the pack. If you don't start picking up these results as well in the future.
Oh look, I just don't look at things like that. Ultimately, we've got to win games of football, and that starts on Sunday. We've got to go to Everton, try and win and get 3 points, and then focus on Europe after that. To kind of look at what's beyond that right now is kind of. It serves no purpose for me or anyone else. Where we end up is going to be where we end up. Whether that's realising our goals, our ambitions, or falling short, then time will tell.
How short would not qualifying for Europe at all be? Would that be a major problem?
Again, so you're asking me to talk about something that's just not in my brain space. I mean, we'll get to that point if we get to that point. We may never get to that point, and it's irrelevant me talking about it, or we may get to that point and then I'll kind of look at it. But right now, nothing more important than us making sure we put in a strong performance away at Everton.
The other one I wanted to ask about is part of the picture of the form is the medical side and the injuries and stuff. And I've seen there's job adverts that have been out for head of medical. What's kind of happening with this sort of structural things behind the scenes? Is that a new structure coming in? Is it a different structure to the one that you thought about in the summer? Is there another look at it, another change?
No, that was always part of the planning. We changed kind of the head of high performance, and he's kind of made sure he's had a good look at how we do things and the structure of everything, and now he's we haven't changed any people in there, but now he's looking to bring in some new people in these roles, which were always earmarked to happen around this time. Obviously, you've got to go through a process, and maybe some of the candidates are already in other positions, so you've got to go through that sort of waiting period as well, but that was always part of the planning.
Finish with George, please.
Hi, Ange. Just go back to this window and transfers. I mean, can you afford to go forward with the squad you've got when everyone is fit for the second half of the season? Because there's going to be a lot of games if you want to go deep, isn't it?
Look, it depends on, it's constantly a moving kind of picture with these things. If everyone comes back and everyone stays back and fit, then but we've got players who've missed a fair bit of football. Guys like Wilson has hardly played, so is he going to come back and hit the ground running? Well, you just don't know these things. Like I said, Romero, Van der Ven, Destiny have all kind of had significant disruptions. Then you had like I said, Bentancur's kind of been in and out. Obviously lost Teemu for a bit now, so there's all these kind of moving parts where you just don't know. Where we sit right now, I think we all know that we need some reinforcements. It's about trying to make that happen if we can in this window.
You mentioned Teemu. I think you said he was going to get a scan. Or
he got a scan. He's got a hamstring tweak, so probably 3 to 4 weeks, I think. And
on Wednesday, you used Maddison and Kulusevski as part of the midfield three, which you did earlier in the season, didn't you, to pretty good effect, Man United and Brentford. Was there a reason why you sort of moved away from using them as a part of that midfield three?
Well, yeah, there was a good reason. We ran out of strikers and had to play Decky at right wing. It's just like, like a lot of decisions we've, sort of had to make have just been trying to plug the holes we've got and, moving and shifting players around and trying to manage their loads as well, because, it's like whilst we've had a lot of injuries, we've also asked a lot of players a lot during this period, you know, and I've had to try and find ways to, you know, manage how much they play so we don't lose anyone else. Now, you know, we've sort of half got away with it, I hope, but, you know, even for guys like I said, you know, Brendan picked up a tweak. That's just on the back of even him trying to manage his loads over the last sort of 2 months. It's been a big shift for the players in there.
Okay, we'll end the broadcast section there. Move on to the embargoed section for 10:30 p.m. tonight. Matt.
From your experienced and senior players at the moment, because your young players have been your best players recently.
Yeah, look, I agree that, you know, our young players are certainly standing up. Do we need more from the experienced players? Look, I think whenever you're kind of in a situation like ours, and again, my experience tells me is that you do need the ones who've maybe been through the tougher times to lead you through it. There's no doubt about that. So that's who we're looking at. Now, we don't have a lot in that bracket, to be fair, and if you look at the other night especially. But, you know, the ones who do, you know, whether that's, you know, Sonny or I guess Matters or, you know, obviously Ben's back now and Dom to a certain extent, although it's his first year at a club. You know, maybe a Bissouma, but, you know, we don't have a great deal of experience to lean on in these times, but certainly, you know, for us to get through it, it's going to need some leadership. Now, you know, I've always said that leadership can come in all forms, and maybe where it'll be it's the young ones that do get us through. There's no reason why they can't. It's kind of the message I've been sort of giving back to them, that, you know what, whatever it takes, and whoever kind of stands up in these moments, you know, don't wait for somebody else. If you feel like it's going to be you take that moment.
And you've always seemed very consistent in the way you work, but I just wondered, in the last few weeks where things have been pretty tough, have you had a special meeting with the players, or the leadership group called a meeting between themselves?
Yeah, nothing by design, but I mean, again, you know, whenever I've sort of been in these situations, and I've had a fair few of them, like I said, different types, but there's always kind of pressures. There are things that you always try and change up, and, you know, we've tried to do things a little bit differently. I have certainly in my messaging over the last few weeks, or, you know, in the way we're kind of dealing with certain aspects.
Can you give us one of them?
Not really, because I mean, I just, but, you know, I think you'll find that most managers, or, you know, most people in kind of these kind of positions are always trying to find a way to change the course of events, you know, and you know, we're all kind of probably staying up late at night trying to figure out, well, is there something I can do? But the one thing I do know is that it's not, and again, the experience I have is there's no sort of miracle cure for it, you know. Part of it is just turning up and fighting for what you believe in, yeah. So that stays consistent, but how you deliver that and how you prepare that can change at times. But, you know, you try and get as creative as you possibly can to see whether you can make an impact, and that's certainly, yeah, that's a mode we've been in for the last sort of month or so, is to, you know, how can we, you know, get this group through this tough time, and how can we help them in getting there. Paul.
Which players do you think have stepped up lately and shown some leadership views in the stood out?
Oh, look, like I said, I think all the younger ones have done a brilliant job in coping with what we've thrown at them, whether that's, you know, Archie or Lucas, or even somebody like Jed who's been thrown in, or Tony as a keeper. I think, you know, Dom Solanke's done an unbelievable job. All these guys have really, I think, you know, embraced the challenge of us being in this tough spot and not shied away from it. And the reason I mention those is they're all kind of new in terms of the team, you know, and I think that's important because, you know, moving forward, you know, when we do get, hopefully at some point, you know, the significant sort of inclusions we have in the team, then that growth that they've shown, I think, will make us even, you know, a stronger team moving forward.
Is that leading by example on the pitch, or those that you've seen, you've heard voices?
Both. I think, you know, both, you know, in both aspects. I think, leading by example, but also their voice as well. You know, as I said, I try and encourage that as much as I can. I think sometimes when you're a younger player or you're a new player, you feel like, you know, is it my place when others are here? But, you know, I always think in the best environments that people feel comfortable enough that, you know, whether it's speaking up or by actions, that they just do it. They don't worry about whether they've, you know, they're the youngest or they've just arrived at the club. They just feel like it's the right thing to do, and I try and encourage that. Like I say, it's not always easy because you feel, okay, I'm new at the club, or I'm young. Do I have the right to say something or by actions? But particularly in the situation we're in right now, you know, we need everyone to sort of step up.
You kind of said before that kind of experience, that sort of leadership wasn't something you were necessarily looking to bring into the club from outside in the transfer. Is that still the case?
Yeah, in terms of, you know, I don't think it's what we need right now is, you know, some reinforcements in terms of, you know, some able bodies who can help us get through this period. That's much more important than anything else right now because, you know, every game we've got close to double-digit absences, you know, even from Wednesday night for a variety of reasons, and you know, we need to try and get some help for the players to get through that.
Tom.
Yeah. A few weeks ago, Ruben Amorim gave quite a surprisingly very honest answer when he was asked about the team in 14 and whether they were actually relegation battles. He said yes. You're 14th at the moment. The form has been difficult. How mindful do you need to be?
But that's then like me thinking about whether we're going to qualify in Europe. It's irrelevant. I respect Ruben's, you know, opinion in this, but it's irrelevant to me. Nothing is more important than us playing well and getting a result at Everton on the weekend. And all these kind of things will play out as they play out. But it's not like, you know, whether I say, listen, we have to win on Sunday so we've got a chance to get in Europe, or we have to win on Sunday because it keeps us out of relegation battle. If that's where the motivation lies, then we've got no chance because we'll be chasing things every week. What our motivation needs to be, to turn out on Sunday and, you know, play more like the football team we know we can be, and get our 3 points and move on from there to Europe on midweek. That's all you can focus on.
Richarlison came on with quite a good impact. Obviously unavailable so often, but during that run that he had, I think his best game was probably Everton away. How do you keep him fit?
Yeah, that's a challenge. But you know, we've tried very different ways, and Richie's trying different ways, and you know, we've been really careful in the way we brought him back this time. He's probably, you know, been ready to go for a couple of weeks. We've given him extra work. You know, I thought he was really good when he came on the other night. You can see his quality, and you know, he's one of these guys that, you know, does lead by example, particularly when he plays. So great to have him back. We've just got to, again, it's about, I think, with Richie, it's about him, you know, gaining confidence in his body as well, and we can do that over the next few weeks. He'll certainly play a part in the Everton game, and you know, hopefully get him some more minutes than the other night, and slowly build him up, because if we can keep him fit, I've got no doubt he'll be a really important player for us. I've got no doubt about that, because I mean, I know you mentioned the Everton game, but when he played last year, that run of games, he was really good for us, and I think he's a really good fit for the way we play in a couple of positions, centrally or way out wide, and you know, if we can keep him fit between now and the end of the season, I'm sure he's going to make an impact.
You mentioned Davies, that was your first game friendly against him. West Ham, him being now the oldest manager. I just wondered this season, with everything you've had to face, do you feel like it's aged you?
No, I understand kind of how externally, you know, it may look and feel for somebody like me, but you know, part of what I love about what I do is the fact that, you know, there's this constant search for solutions and constant search for how to overcome challenges. I enjoy that bit. So it's not like, because I always reflect on the alternative is me not being involved. And okay, maybe I'm look a bit younger and a bit more handsome, but I'd be pretty bored. You know, if I was sitting at home, I'd be saying, I wish I was there, you know, and I'll probably, knowing me, I'd be saying, I wish I was at Tottenham right now. I'd love to be in the middle of that to see how we can get out of that situation. So, like I said, I understand from externally you're probably going, you know, God, he must be living a nightmare at the moment, but it's not my existence. You know, it's a big challenge. I get it. I said before, the responsibility weighs heavily on me. I feel it. You know, I feel the pain of it. I feel the disappointment of it. But I'm a fighter, and this is where I want to be, and I want to find a way to get us out of this, so that we can reap the rewards of the tough battles we've had. And because of that context, it doesn't affect me maybe in the way that people may assume.
Matt?
Do we forget, Ange, what older managers bring to us? I don't know if that's the best way to phrase it.
Thanks, mate. Coming off the back of Tom is wonderful.
Does it ever feel like a young man's game, and not just sort of because there are a lot of younger coaches, because there's always impatience for the next best thing, the next sort of coach to come?
Yeah, it depends. Like, depends on sort of the way you approach it. I think I'm better equipped to handle this now at my age than I would have been if I was younger. So I see, you know, what others may see as a kind of, even I think before I got this role, you know, it was made about my age, that I think because of my age and my experience, and certainly I feel like I have the energy still, definitely, to do the task. It's not like I'm, like I said, weighed down by it. I think it helps me in these kind of situations, and, you know, I think, you know, younger managers, I think that is the challenge, because, you know, there is such a short-term outlook on most things in life, and particularly in football these days, that, you know, how do you withstand, you know, all these kind of, you know, assertions on how you're supposed to be doing your job, which is a constant now. It's never, you know, you're never given any breathing room to say, okay, well, let's just see how this pans out. It's kind of, no, look, it's obviously not working, so there's got to be change. It's you know, but again, it comes down to, I guess, the individual thing, and it comes down to your upbringing. So I reckon maybe David's in a similar mould as me, is that probably our upbringing was that, you know what, if you're going through tough times, just roll your sleeves up and work hard. There's a pretty basic sort of premise there that's still quite effective. I think younger people today and younger managers are probably, they work a bit differently. They work a bit smarter. Maybe they find ways of avoiding some of the issues that probably older managers just tackle head on.
Can I also ask, the Werner injury, has it complicated what you doing in January, and whether we?
Well, it hasn't helped, because again, it means one less body again. So, you know, I mean, we've got Mikey and Richie back, which is great. You know, we're kind of in a situation where we're thinking, okay, we can now start thinking about, and it's not just about rotating, but it's just about impacts we can have even during games with substitutions. We're just really limited. You know, I said bringing Richie on the other night was great, but now, you know, like I said, we've lost Teemu, so we're still down a number. So it doesn't add more urgency to what we were going to do, but it's not helpful.
But not in terms of signing a striker?
No, it's still in terms of, sorry.
I meant if he was, because he was alone, whether he was someone you were able to get out and get someone in.
No, that was never that was never part of the equation. No, it was never part of the equation to get Teemu out. It wasn't like, that was never like, I need to bring players in, not get players out. So that was never part of it.
Paul?
Just going back to the experience question again with David Moyes. He's a manager who has a system of play, come under criticism for it, hasn't changed that approach, has had success. Do you think experience kind of lends coaches towards kind of identifying on an ideology or a way of playing the game?
No, not necessarily. I think, you know, look, I'd be very surprised if there are any managers who don't have a real clear sort of idea of, you know, how they want their teams to play. There might be some flexibility in there, but most of them, but, you know, people tend to focus on the extremes of it, so that, obviously with David, he's got a whole body of work that people kind of can look at and say, okay, this is what he's done, and he hasn't changed his approach, and it's been quite effective. He's done a great job, and along the way, people kind of probably said, that he should change, but he's survived for so long and thrived for so long because he believes in something, and I think you do need to. For every manager, whether you're young, there's something you've got to cling on to when the inevitable tough times come, and they come for everybody. There is not one manager who won't go through tough times, who won't lose his job at some point. That happens to everyone. You've got to have something to cling on. What do you believe in? If you don't, and if you're just changing along the way all the time because of pressures, then eventually what happens is you disappear. The ones who have never had anything to cling on may have a small presence in the game, but then they quickly disappear if they've tried to chase something that they don't believe in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.